G'day, how's it going? I thought today's video would be about something that's been a big part of my life for quite a long time. Certainly back to my teenage years, and since then it's been a bit of an ever-present, you might say. There's been the occasional period here and there where, for one reason or other, I haven't really enjoyed it, but those periods have been pretty short and very few. You might have guessed by now, those of you who are really observant, or those of you who know me well, I'm talking about beer. So yeah, beer's played a pretty big role in my life, I guess. Some of my earliest memories, obviously like a lot of people, brought up around a lot of sport and clubs and stuff like that, and running around club rooms and seeing friends and family, parents, or at least one parent in my case. Mum wasn't much of a drinker, thanks to me, but Dad certainly pulled his fair share. Working in bottle stores and stuff like that as well was just always something and somewhere that I was pretty comfortable to be. And I guess that upbringing informed my view, I guess, of beer, of alcohol consumption in general, but certainly beer is something to be enjoyed socially with other people. I've never been much of a drinker at home, or a drinker alone, which is probably not a bad thing. My wife doesn't drink, so again, but even before I met her, it was something that would very rarely be something that I partook in, just on my lonesome. Not most of you, maybe some of you watching might know and appreciate that I like to talk, much of which is a lot of shit. And if you've got no one else to talk to, victims you might call them, then it's not really that much fun, is it? Talking to yourself. I think we've all been there. But hey, this isn't for me to preach to others about how they should or shouldn't consume alcohol or anything like that. To each their own. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's just your way. I've got my way, works for me. And what I thought I'd do is just talk about my beer consumption career. And no, David Boone's got nothing to worry about. But just talk about a few different beers. My perspective's been informed a little bit by my career. A lot of the early part of my career was spent around and in the alcohol industry. My first job out of school was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old. Was at New Zealand Wines and Spirits. Shout out to the Wines and Spirits crew that might be watching. And I was there for 6 years. New Zealand Wines and Spirits was owned or part owned by New Zealand Brewers, or Lion Nathan. So I had a pretty good insight and a fair bit of exposure to the liquor industry, obviously generally being a big part of it, and more specifically to beer and some of the events and the stuff that surrounded it. And they were pretty good times. Obviously back before we had smartphones and cameras everywhere, so don't really have much in the way of photos and things like that, but a lot of experiences just going to different events and meeting different people and sports people and things like that, was for a young kid, which I certainly was at the beginning, and through to my early 20s, when I finally left New Zealand Wines and Spirits, it was a pretty good experience. I got to see a lot of the good. I also got to see some of the bad of what alcohol and liquor generally can do to people. But far and away, the majority of people do the right things by themselves and the people that matter to them. And there's a lot more smiles than what there are tears, and that's all we can hope for. Following my New Zealand Wines and Spirits experience and my line experience, I went off and did a couple of other roles for a few years just to grow, as one does. I'll touch on the career stuff a bit later. But I ended up, a few years following that, working for DB Breweries, which is the other big brewery in New Zealand. New Zealand had two, Lion and DB, two main breweries. Lion was the bigger one. DB was continually trying to catch up, which it kind of did to some degrees, or didn't, depending how you want to look at it and measure it, and so on and so forth. My experience with DB was about 4 years, and that was obviously actually working for the brewery itself in a couple of different roles, and then ending up back in Wellington as a territory manager looking after that and the Wairarapa off-premise customers. Off-premise being where you take your beer and drink it somewhere else, so supermarkets and bottle shops, pretty much. And me being me, I was a pretty loyal employee on either side of the fence, and I didn't tend to partake in consumption of someone else's product. I was always a pretty firm and staunch believer that if I'm going to make a living selling the stuff, and it hasn't just applied to beer, pretty much anything that I've been involved in over the years, the least I can do is walk the floor. And if I don't drink it myself, then you feel like a bit of a goose walking in and trying to tell or inform or advise that others should do so. So the beer, what I thought I'd do is touch on four or five beers that I've quite enjoyed over the years. This is 4 or 5 mainstream beers, and then I'll touch on 4 or 5 of my favourite craft beers. I'm not going to go into taste or flavour profiles or any of the waffle bollocks, because as I've said for about 30 odd years ago when I got my diploma in wine, been talking about taste, it's all bollocks anyway. I can't tell you what your taste buds are going to enjoy any more than you can tell me what wine will. All I can say is just get out there and give stuff a try, and certainly more so in this day and age in the beer market, but not to mention other types of drinks, alcoholic or not. There's so much variation out there, and there are so many different things you can try. Just one moment, and there we go. And yes, I am drinking Guinness out of a Stella Artois glass. See how I'm trying to keep the faith with different breweries? See, I don't have to stick to one anymore. It's quite liberating. And then, following that, I'll look at a few craft beers that I've enjoyed over the years, and I'll touch on my highlights from Beervana, which I attended a couple of days ago. So there's some more useless information, and you can get out there, give stuff a try, let me know in the comments what you like, what you don't like. I guess one piece of advice I should give and can give, touching on my loyalty. For the first probably until I was about 26 or 27 when I joined DB Breweries. I almost had a physical allergy to DB draft. The odd occasion, I had it over the years, and this is even post leaving my Nathan. It just tasted like absolute shit. I could not stand it. And whilst it's never ever been my beer of choice, and nor will it be, I'll never ever forget my induction at the DB Brewery site in Otahu in Auckland, and they take us around on a tour. You go through the site, meet all the different teams, the admin, the sales, the marketing, and obviously they take you over to the brewery and you do a brewery tour. And at the end of the tour, like all good brewery tours, you're in the bar and you're having a beer. One moment, please. Now, part of this tour was also educational, not obviously just drinking all the beer. And what they did was put 2 beers in front of us. All of us were new. I think it was about 8 of us. We were all new into the organisation. None of us were beer experts. We were just normal people doing normal jobs. And they gave us 2 beers. One was quite a dark, heavy caramel colour. It looked almost like an old English ale. The other one looked a lot fresher, cleaner and brighter, lighter colour, and quite a nice bouquet. It was very fresh on the nose, whereas the other one, was a bit shit really. But anyway, so we tried these 2 beers. I really liked the second one. First one was a bit shit. They said, "Oh, what did you think?" I gave them what I thought. They said, "Oh, they're part of the DP range. Which beers do you think they are?" And of course, with my prior background, I was a bit of a nuffy when it came to DB's range. So I guessed that one was Export Gold. And I thought the other one, because I didn't know any better, but I'm at the Waitemata Brewery, so I thought, well, hey, it might be Waitemata Sparkling. It wasn't. They weren't. They were actually the same beer. One was 1 week old, and the other one was 9 months old. They were both in the draft. And what that little lesson showed me, and it is a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Wherever you are in the world, if you're not sure what to drink, or they don't have your preferred amber nectar of choice, just drink what the locals drink. Chances are, whatever's fresh is going to be the best. So yeah, good trick for young players there. So back to beer. Over the years I've had a few, literally. And here's a couple of highlights in terms of what we might call mainstream beers. When I was at New Zealand Lights of Spirits, we began importing Miller Genuine Draft from Australia, from the US. And yeah, what was really the best thing for me was some of the merchandise and the gold and black of the brand. I'd never heard who Rusty Wallace was and didn't know a bloody thing about NASCAR, but I soon began. But the main thing was for me was that the beer was just beautiful. So that one's definitely high up on the list. Another Genuine Draft from America. I'm not always that big on American stuff anyway, but certainly MGB, get in my belly. And another slightly random offbeat one that I tried, I'm not even sure when I first tried it, a Melbourne Bitter. So you've probably all heard of Victoria Bitter. Melbourne Bitter is the lesser known, slightly different, smoother, nicer, yummier tasting of the two. I really enjoy it. I think I might have had it at the Angus Inn back in the day. But I do remember that they actually went to the trouble of getting some in for me. So I have a little stash in the fridge behind the bar, which was very, very appreciated. So shout out to Rolly and the team, and Rolly in particular. I know you're battling at the moment, mate, so keep fighting the fight and doing what you're doing. It's really good to see. Keep it up. And another beer that surprised me was Amstel. And it reiterated to me that your taste buds do the talking, not the marketing. Amstel in Europe is just a bit of a random average beer. When it started getting produced in New Zealand by DB, so the marketing plan was slightly different. It was pitched a little bit higher. We had a really nice methodology around delivering the beer, literally the pour, and so on premise outlets in New Zealand. And if you're ever stuck, you're in a bar, they've got Amstel on tap, hey, go for it. And if it's crap, I'm sorry, but hey, taste buds. Can't be helped. The other, probably big brother of that beer in New Zealand, which is something that I've always enjoyed, probably working for DB and living in Auckland. A lot of events are sponsored by Heineken, and a lot of people give it a bit of shit, and that's okay, you know, it is what it is. But when you need a cold beer on a hot day, well, obviously there's several other choices you could make, which are perfectly valid as well. But good old Heine never really goes far wrong, I don't think. And finally, the mainstream department, we've got good old Guinness, particularly Guinness Draft. At the moment, I'm under doctor's orders to try and have lots of iron, so hey, what's not to like? Beautiful. Now moving on to the craft beers. Obviously the craft beer market globally, and certainly New Zealand, has exploded over the last 15 years or so in particular. The definition of what a craft beer is or isn't, I'll leave that for other people. At the end of the day, for me, the main thing, as I touched on at the beginning, is just the explosion, the varieties and the types of beer and the choice that us consumers have now got available. Excuse me. And there's no harm in trying stuff. You know? I often, well, maybe not often, but sometimes go to the local bottle shop, they've got a great selection, and just pick up random cans of stuff, and just try it, give it a go. You don't know what you don't know, and obviously it's not an absolute science. You get some right, you get some wrong. You might expose yourself to different styles. I mean, you might expand on trying different styles from different brewers. You might try mainstream things with the same stuff. But yeah, give it a go. So, crafties. I'm a bit of an enthusiast when it comes to Garage Project, and I've always been partial to their Supercharger and Port Road Pilsner, among a lot of their other beers. But yeah, certainly the Supercharger. It's a great, just done the horns brew on a warm day, especially with the smell. You know, you really can't beat it. And staying in good old Upper Hutt, another recommendation, Kiriro Coconut Lager. Coconut Porter. I've not had it for quite a while. I think they've actually got an updated brew of that beer. But yeah, I have noticed I've gotten more into darker beers as I'm maybe getting older, I don't know. Or my taste buds are maturing, I should say. But yeah. And another one that I've always been a a bit of a fan of is Garage Project, obviously one of the bigger and probably more successful craft breweries based in Wellington. They put out an absolute truckload of beers, and a lot of their core range, the Garage Easter, Happy Days, even their beer. You know, I was quite disappointed when Garage Project stopped being the preferred supplier at Wellington Phoenix games, because I always enjoyed the selection available when their beers were pouring. So yeah, but again, give it a go, try the stuff. So yeah, there you have it. That's beer for me, kind of, as we are now. Get into it, drink responsibly, don't be a dick, and be a good bugger to the people that serve you, and create an environment that you and your mates can enjoy yourselves. I've been pretty lucky in that sense over the years. You know, many years at Yankeeson back in the day, and always had good relationships with people there, and Rolly and his team, and others that have looked after me, and other people, and likewise at other places I've frequented over the years. People like Matt Lachlan in town with music Four Kings and his other venues, and all the best with what you do next, Matt, too, by the way. You know, they create the environment, and even down to my local, the Sprig and Fern, where I can be found rather regularly. Again, for me, it's the social stuff, and it's about the environment and the people. It's not really about the beer. The beer's just a bit of a means to an end, or not. But yeah, that's it. Hey, cheers. I'll see you on the next video. Don't go back. We'll be right away.